I'm Vince Rizzo.
I'm Ryan Davis.
I'm Matt Chewy.
And welcome to KORRACAST, Episode 2.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of KORRACAST. We got a lot to talk about this week, but before we do, we're going to recap the first 2 episodes of Legend of Korra.
In Welcome to Republic City, the first episode of Legend of Korra, the White Lotus discovers Korra, the new avatar, after traveling to the South Pole. For the next several years, Korra is trained how to bend water, earth, and fire, but her teachers fear Korra is focused too much on the physical aspect of bending rather than the spiritual aspect, though an elderly Katara believes otherwise. Tenzin, who is Katara and Aang's son and the only existing airbending master, postpones Korra's airbending training to take care of matters in Republic City. With Katara's blessing, Korra sneaks out of her village and follows Tenzin to Republic City, where she convinces him to train her there. Meanwhile, Amon, the leader of an anti-bender equalist group, takes note of Korra's arrival in the city and decides to accelerate his plans.
In Leaf in the Wind, the second episode of Legend of Korra, Korra is living with her airbending teacher Tenzin on Air Temple Island. Frustrated with her inability to master airbending, she turns her attentions to Republic City's famous pro-bending arena, despite Tenzin's disapproval of the sport. She sneaks off the island and befriends 2 brothers, Mako and Bolin, who compete in professional bending matches as part of the Fire Ferret team. Korra is immediately drawn to pro bending's dynamic fighting style and joins Mako and Bolin's team when their waterbender teammate fails to appear. Korra has trouble at first when she discovers that pro bending is nothing like the sparring matches she is used to. However, she begins to instinctively use airbending techniques to dodge her opponent's attacks, winning the match. Tenzin, who witnesses Korra's performance, reluctantly allows Korra to continue pro bending and join the Fire Ferrets permanently.
Ryan,
Chewy,
how you been this week?
pretty good.
Yes?
Watch some Avatar?
I watched some Avatar.
What did you think of that?
First 2 episodes, very good in my opinion. What about you, Chewy?
Yeah, I gotta say, I thought it was a good jumping point for the series. It wasn't perfect, but I think it was a good start.
So we've been given the first 2 episodes, giving us a taste of what's going on in the universe. I like it, don't know exactly, how good it is or how much I feel about it entirely, but I do know I'm hungry for more.
It wasn't the slow build-up that we saw in Season 1 of Avatar The Last Airbender. It was very, let's get in there, we got things to introduce, we got people for you to meet.
Yeah, and if this is the pace it's starting off at, are we gonna only, accelerate here?
Vince, Korra.
First impression.
Alright, well, first line she has as a little kid is that I'm the Avatar, you have to deal with it, and then she starts bending 3 elements at once.
Off the get-go, she's that just adept at all 3 elements right there.
Did anyone else feel like that line was directly pointed to all the fans of the first show?
That is Mike and Brian speaking directly to someone like me, who I'm like, I don't know about this Korra person, but they're like, hey.
It's not the only instance of trolling that we see right in the very first few minutes.
Right as the get-go.
Right at the very beginning of the episode, it's, hey, what happened to Zuko's mom?
It's a great story, let me tell you about that. And then, nope.
Yeah.
So Korra, she's brash, she's aggressive, compared to Aang, who's more passive, more calm, definitely more spiritual. And, one thing I noticed is that she's a little dumb. She's not the smartest tool on the shelf.
When she sees those equalists talking about supporting Amon, basically she just goes in there and says, what? Bending's the coolest thing in the world!
Right.
Which is exactly what those anti-benders would hate about a bender.
She's proving their point.
I kind of got the sense that she's a little bit sheltered. She's, the country girl in the big city in this episode.
She's been basically exiled.
Right, she doesn't even really seem to understand simple concepts like money and economy.
One of the minor weaknesses that I want to mention about the episode, a lot of things are very spelled out for us in this first episode. And it's a little hard to tell whether it's because she's so naive or is it because this is ultimately it's a kid's show. One of the funniest moments in the first episode was her meeting what I'm going to call Bush Guy. When he jumps out asking for one of them tasty fishies, there's this whole conversation about like, you live in that bush? It was a little, I don't want to say annoying, but it was a little transparent to me, but I'm willing to forgive it because, again, it's the first episode.
I couldn't help thinking of the original first episode of Avatar The Last Airbender, and it's definitely taken a step up in terms of maturity. I mean, think about it. First episode of Avatar, Sokka gets hit with a giant snot rocket from Appa because it doesn't know exactly what demographic it's trying to play to.
Right.
This one, it's already established that it has a mature audience for Avatar.
But let's move on to a couple of other things that we learned in the first and second episodes.
So Tenzin's family, they seem really cool. I like them. They have a good dynamic. We got the crazy, ugly baby kid who's gnawing on his
Milo.
dad's head, Milo.
Yeah.
He's got snot bubbles, he's just drooling everywhere.
I'd like to think that's what Aang looked like when he was like 5 years old. And they were all meditating. And Tenzin was like, look at Milo, for example. Look at how great he is at meditating. And Korra's like, I think he's just sleeping.
The daughter's got that great line where he says, like, tell me that won't be your teen years. And she says, I can make no promises.
So, as Korra and Naga are searching for food, they run into this triad gangster group that is basically trying to take money from some lowly shopkeeper. And as they try to escape, she flips their car 6 times and sends it into a building.
Right, definitely a very violent way of solving problems.
It was like, job's done, they're not leaving them in here. Nope, let's kill them.
Yeah, that's Korra. There she is.
So now we've answered our question that we asked in the last episode, why she's being chased by the police. Well, it turns out it's because she's breaking the law.
And
which is one thing that I really like about it, is that the Avatar is not above the law in the show, which is really important, and if you want to establish like a fair society, I think that should be the case.
Yeah, but I mean, in the first series, we didn't really have an established police force anywhere in any city, really. So, you know, the Avatar was kind of the top tier guy who was the peacekeeper, the problem solver.
And it's interesting that you brought up that the Avatar is not above the law. I kind of noticed that they're kind of planting seeds of anti-bender notions in our brain as well. Even from subtle things, like when Tenzin and his family get off the Sky Bison and his wife says, like, I really hope we can just have a nice non-bending kid. All the way to the, you know, the protests in the street, like benders are evil, and then all the way to when we meet Toph's daughter. It's like, I don't care who you are, you still like wrecked all kinds of stuff.
So one of the things one of my friends was talking about was his perspective of the first episode is that Korra is going to sort of be like a superhero for Republic City. Because we got this menacing, evil bad guy with plots of
He's
planning.
such a stereotypical comic book bad guy, especially, you know, he wears a mask.
Yeah, and versus Aang, who is traveling around the world, Korra is going to be centralized in a single city. This is going to be her metropolis, or Gotham City.
Right.
And so she's going to be going in from time to time, busting up the bad guys, and returning to her secret lair of Airbender Island.
And kind of like Batman, you know, where like people don't like him at first because
she's a vigilante.
Right, and she's a vigilante in episode 1.
Yeah,
she's got to build herself up as a hero.
She has to build a reputation.
As Korra is giving her speech to Republic City, saying she's going to try to be the best Avatar she can be, it transitions to Amon and his equalist group listening on the radio to her and saying they have to speed up their plans.
We basically know the same that we do going into the first episode, and then going into the second episode, we don't see him again.
Right, he's just the bad guy behind the shadows. He's got some evil master plans.
Which I don't really like about it, because it seems like he has a pretty decent cause for what he's doing, because benders are asserting their power over the weaker non-benders. So why can't he just be a good guy who wants equality for everybody?
Right, that's a good point. And if the Equalists are trying to establish themselves as being kind of a for-the-people organization, having some scary-looking bad guy as their mascot, not really going to get a lot of new recruits.
Well, it's not sending a positive message.
It isn't.
I'm gonna disagree with you guys.
Okay.
Because a lot of times in history with revolutions, we often see that kind of a symbol, that kind of a face. There's not necessarily one guy that's the leader behind this. It's that we as a people are rallying, and this is just our collective face. That maybe his mask represents more than just Amon, that this is the face of the revolution.
But what does it symbolize?
We don't know yet. But again, we're going to have to wait till at least episode 3 to find out what's going on. But let's talk about some of the other things that happened in episode 2.
Korra doesn't know how to airbend. It's basically her equivalent of earthbending to Aang, which is interesting because it's supposed to be your natural opposite, which makes sense because Korra has a very aggressive personality.
She does. And Tenzin says it's more, you know, what's the opposite of your personality versus what's the opposite of your initial element.
Airbending requires a lot of grace, and she ain't got that.
No, she is a rock. Pro bending, so it's, I guess, this third kind of national sport.
Not only is pro bending a really cool sport, the way it's designed and the way it's put together, and it's gonna serve its purpose in the plot really nicely, I think.
The pro bending thing, I'm kind of thinking, is gonna sort of be like a training for Korra, because Aang had villains he had to fight every single day. But for her, she may not have that many villains, so they're gonna use the pro bending.
But yeah, at the end of the episode, Tenzin kind of realizes that Korra has to kind of, as the Avatar, which we see this a lot in the first series, she's got to find her own way of doing things. What works for some people doesn't necessarily work for other people. And that's true in just life. You know, you see that...
It's a life lesson.
They both gain from this lesson.
Right, he's going to become the better teacher, just as she's going to become the better student.
We meet 2 other people who are probably going to become big characters in the show.
Bolin is a little bit like Sokka. We've kind of come to the conclusion, and Mako is a little bit like Zuko too.
Korra and Mako, something's gonna happen between them.
No, it's blatantly obvious, especially with that gaze across the.
Oh god, it wasn't blatantly obvious. It was painfully obvious.
Love triangle has already happened in 2 minutes. It's there.
I was on board with it. To be honest. This is my prediction for why Makor is gonna happen. Okay, so Mike and Brian are the 2 co-creators of Avatar, and they were always, at least in the first series, Mike was Katara and Aang, and Brian was Zuko and Katara. So Brian never got his way with a waterbender and a firebender. This one, I'm pretty sure he's gonna be like, alright, Mike, this is my turn to decide who's gonna end up together.
Well, yeah, it definitely seems like it's going that direction already.
I think it's gonna happen. I really do.
But there may be a third love interest in the future. Amon? Do I hear Amon?
Amon and Korra?
Amon and Korra?
Come on. Come on!
Come on!
Let's just not. So let's take a look at some of the responses that you guys left for last week's question.
Pippi Luna Love wrote that they think Amon is going to be more cleverly evil, with a better plan than just trying to rule the world. They also wrote that they think he's going to be more of a fun villain. Apple Withdrawals wrote, I have a theory that Amon is one of Katara and Aang's other kids, since we don't know whether they are benders or not, just that Tenzin is the only airbender. Maybe Aang favored Tenzin because of that, and one of the other kids were jealous and angry. HMS Girl 23456 wrote, Dude on the left, I think you're pretty cute. Dude on the left says thank you.
Thanks guys, we had a lot of great input, and we got a new question for you this week.
So our viewer response question for this week is, do you think Korra will be the superhero of Republic City, and how? Please leave your comments in the comment section below and let us know.
So Chewie, what do you think about Republic City?
Well, I like the showers.
Oh, the showers?
Yeah. I smell like roses.
Oh, you smell like roses?
Yeah. Want to smell me?
Yeah, I smell. You do smell like roses. Smell me.
Oh, I bet you smell good.
Well, yeah.
You do smell good.
Well, I've lived here longer.